Politico's White House bureau chief Dasha Burns reports internal frustration inside the Trump administration, sharing memes from sources describing the mood there as chaotic. In a social media thread, Dasha says she asked Trump allies for images capturing the atmosphere at the White House. Some responses including an office worker typing at a desk engulfed in flames, you know that one, and the familiar "This is fine" dog calmly drinking coffee as chaos burns around him. Both sent, she says, by sources close to the administration, all pointing to frustration and unease behind the scenes, despite public messaging staying on track. The White House pushed back sharply in a statement to Politico, saying no one cares about Politico's collection of anonymously sourced memes, insisting the administration remains focused on its policy agenda. Let's ask Dasha about that. She joins us now. So, Dasha, I'll let you characterize the mood of the White House. I think those memes probably represent something that is happening internally. We've seen the reporting from Peter Baker at the New York Times as well, that there are internal concerns about the state of Donald Trump right now, up all night making these bizarre posts. What did you find talking to your sources?
Yeah, this was the first one for me, Willie. You know, normally when I'm talking to sources, I'm looking for quotes, but this modern world we live in, listen, we live in a meme-based world, especially under this administration. So I decided to get a vibe check in a kind of different way. And, you know, the old adage, a picture says 1,000 words. I think a meme in this moment might say even more. The dog drinking the coffee with the fire around it. I was sent that twice from two separate sources close to the White House. An oldie but a goodie. There were some religious themed memes. Listen, the vibes aren't great. The sources I was talking to were pointing to things like there's the religion theme that the president kicked off there. The DoorDash moment yesterday, for example. The president stepped on his own message there by attacking the Pope, by posting that Jesus themed meme. Republicans were getting ready to hit the campaign trail talking about the economy. They're going to have a really hard time doing that right now because of what's happening with the war in Iran and what that's doing to prices back home. Tax season. I was talking to White House officials late last year on the record, and they were saying that this was going to be the moment when the big, beautiful bill would impact the voters that really need it the most. And this is when voters would start to get excited to vote for Republicans in November because they would see those tax refunds. Well, that is also all being overshadowed by the rising cost of living because of some of the issues abroad. So this is not where the administration wants to be, and this certainly is not where Republican allies of the administration who are trying to help boost Republicans in the midterms want to be. And I think the images that I got really just say it all without words.
So, Dasha, we've got rising prices. We've got, of course, the faltering war in Iran. We've got the president going after the Pope. Let's add to that Viktor Orban losing. Trump's one of his closest international allies. When President Trump was asked about this in the hours after the election Sunday night, as he returned to Washington, he simply turned on his heels and walked away from reporters, refusing to comment. What's the latest you've heard from inside the administration as to their feelings on Orban losing and how that could affect, of course, geopolitics, but also do they view it as potentially a warning sign for their type of political movement, which also, of course, faces voters in a few months?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, look, the president's endorsement has been seen as kind of an invisibility shield for candidates. It's had this magic wand effect here in the United States for some years now, where when he endorses a candidate, they skyrocket. That did not translate to Hungary. And Viktor Orban is somebody that the administration has invested heavily in that relationship. You saw Vice President J.D. Vance, with everything that's going on here at home, head over to Budapest to support and stump for Viktor Orban. And then he loses in such grandiose fashion, right? This is a serious warning sign for the Trump administration. And my colleague Alex Burns wrote a great column about what lessons Democrats and those who oppose Trump could actually take from Orban's loss and from the way that the opposition garnered that support. So there is a lot to extrapolate from Hungary here.
A lot. White House Bureau Chief at Politico, Dasha Burns, thank you so much. We greatly appreciate it. Her latest piece is available to read online now. And Jonathan Lemire, by the way, you just go back and you look at all the people that went over there and threw their weight. Members of the president's family throwing their weight behind Orban, the president himself, Marco Rubio, who knew better, went there anyway. J.D. Vance, who did not know better, went there anyway. And things went terribly. And I would say even if you look at some races, not a lot, but still there are some Republican primaries where a Trump endorsement doesn't carry the day anymore, which, of course, was absolutely unheard of up until the last year or so. But I want to talk. You spoke briefly in the 9 o'clock hour yesterday about all of the tweets that the president made overnight. You do have people inside the White House, as Dasha's and other people have reported, they're very concerned right now with the president. How many tweets did he do? How many Truth Socials did he do overnight? I know it seems, if you look at the number, that he was literally up all night. What do you got there?
Yeah, I'm pulling it up here. We did talk about it yesterday, and it's certainly worth revisiting now, because let's remember, we heard for 4 years so many conversations about President Biden's ability and mental capacity to do the job. Those questions starting to percolate now, rightly, about President Trump. Here's a list here compiled on social media. We went through some of this yesterday. It actually starts before that, because the criticism of Pope Leo was about 9 o'clock p.m. Sunday night. And about 45 minutes later, he put up the AI Jesus photo that got him in so much trouble. And then it's a long list, a mix of New York Post stories and stupid memes and a Trump Tower on the moon. And then real news, he jumps in with details of the Hormuz blockade. And then he starts reposting articles about President Biden, doing it more than once, the same piece, and doing it, as you can see on the times there, between 2:35 a.m. and 4:10 a.m. This is the President of the United States who had been in South Florida for the weekend attending a UFC fight while Vice President Vance was in Pakistan trying to broker a deal with Iran. And he was up all night, it appears, not sleeping. And this sort of behavior, Joe, is exactly why there are people wondering about his mental state right now, and Mika, about how, things aren't going well. Let's just put it clear. Between the war, rising price, we just went through the list with Dasha there, and Republicans are looking at potentially a really tough November. Most GOP members I speak to say the House is gone. The Senate could go as well. And as much as President Trump is sort of saying he doesn't care about that, he knows his life would get far more complicated if Democrats control one or both chambers of Congress.
Yeah.